This is Coast to Coast AM from the Kingdom of Nye.
You are about to hear from one of the pioneers in ufology, contactee research, reincarnation research in America. He is Professor Leo Sprinkle. And so I suggest you hold on for that because it's coming up next. He's really something. Well, Professor Leo Sprinkle is a legend. He's written a book with a really intriguing title. It's called Soul Samples. That is intriguing, isn't it? Soul Samples. Dr. Sprinkle began his career in psychology with the idea of being a conventional practicing scientist, in quotes, in the traditional sense. However, two close encounters with UFOs, that'll do it, shattered his conventional reality and shifted his direction in life. That's what it'll do for you. And the second incident experienced with his wife, well, he knew he had to investigate the UFO phenomena, and it would be a lonely task, and I'm sure it's proved to be that. Dr. Sprinkle began his investigations from the conventional viewpoint, but found he was unable to make further progress until he became aware of and accepted the physical aspects of the UFO phenomena. He became more and more skeptical, ironically, not of the reality of flying saucers, but of the concept of reality itself as defined and developed by the current scientific community. A pioneer in the UFO field, Dr. Sprinkle was in the limelight early on, participated, get this, in many regional and national television programs, including ABC TV's That's Incredible, NBC TV with Tom Snyder, The Tomorrow Show, NBC's UFOs Fact or Fantasy. He's appeared on many panels with scientists like J. Allen Hynek, Carl Sagan. Ruth Montgomery included a chapter on Sprinkle's activities in her 85 book, Aliens Among Us. He received his Ph.D. in counseling psychology from the University of Missouri in 1961, completed his M.A. and M.P.S. at the University of Colorado, 52 and 56, respectively. Dr. Sprinkle was a professor of counseling services at the University of Wyoming for about 13 years of his career. He served as Director of Counseling Services. Currently, he's Professor Emeritus of Counseling Services at the University of Wyoming and a counseling psychologist in Laramie. He's nationally certified and licensed and a registrant counsel for the National Register of Health Service Providers. And I could go on and on. You get the idea. He's a heavyweight. Here he is, Dr. Leo Sprinkle. Doctor, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Art. Pleasure to be here.
You've been around doing this for a while, huh?
For a while, yes.
How long, actually?
Well, I started surveys in 1961 and 62 at the University of North Dakota. And then when I came to the University of Wyoming in 63 and 64, I continued with surveys and also began individual sessions with persons that had UFO ET encounters. So it's been the last 40 years that I've been involved in professional research.
40 years, wow. If memory serves me, which it does less and less lately, I think that I interviewed you on a program called Area 2000 in Las Vegas a long time ago.
Your memory may be correct, but mine is such that I can't really confirm it. I don't recall.
Well, it happens to us. But yeah, I think we did talk once before, but this will be just like a whole new talk. When I last talked to you, I was speaking purely as uninitiated. I was not initiated into the reality of what is, and since that time, I've had two experiences with craft that were impossible. Close experiences. And the conclusion I came to after seeing what I saw was that either we have technology that's so far ahead of anything we can even imagine, anti-gravity, all the rest of it, or it's from elsewhere or elsewhen. I don't know. But you can only come to those conclusions it boils down to that. This thing was 150 feet above me, a triangle. Could have thrown a rock at the damn thing. I was with my wife, came over silently, not making a sound, a gigantic thing, stars went away, moon went away. Really a close encounter. It changes you.
Yes, indeed.
And I guess that's what happened to you, huh?
Yes, in 1949, a buddy and I saw a flying saucer over the University of Colorado in Boulder. Of course, I didn't believe in flying saucers in 49 because of the way that newspapers and other media treated those who saw or claimed that they saw flying saucers. So I dismissed it in some ways, tried not to think about it, and didn't want to talk about it.
Good way to ruin an academic career, huh?
Went through a period of kind of a mild depression because of the change that I knew was happening in my views about science and reality. And then in 1956, my wife and I had a sighting, and so after that I thought, okay, I'm slow, but I'm able to recognize that after two sightings, something is going on that can't be explained through the conventional views. And so that's when I began to read, and then when I finished...
Do you remember much of that first... I know you do. Of the one you and your wife had, what did you see?
In the 56 sighting, we were returning from Denver, looking over the valley of Boulder, Colorado, and the sun had set and the sky was beginning to darken, and we saw what we thought was an evening star, a planet, over the Flatirons, the Rocky Mountain foothills. But it began to move, and so I stopped the car. We watched. My wife, Marilyn, remembers it as moving back and forth like a pendulum. I remembered it more of a falling leaf kind of pattern. And as we watched, as we got out and looked at it, we saw that now it was below the Flatirons, not above, and so it wouldn't be a planet or a star.
No.
And yet it wasn't a helicopter. We couldn't hear any sound, and no airplane. So it was a strange object or a light that hovered and then moved, hovered, moved. If it were over the town, as I imagined to be about the size of a helicopter, if it were against the foothills, it'd be huge, like a university building. Whatever it was, puzzled and fascinated me, and I thought that people around, I could see car lights turning on down below. I could hear car horns. I thought there must be other people who were witnessing what we were seeing.
Right.
But the next day, no mention in the newspaper. So I said, uh-oh, it's happening, but there's not much public recognition of what's going on. So,
still isn't.
Yep, you're right.
And that's really a good question for you. Do you think that will change?
I think it's changing gradually. More and more people are involved. In 49, when my buddy and I saw Flying Saucer, there was a lot of newspaper hype, but it was more in the sense of sensationalism, according to some people, and wasn't accepted by the general public. Now I think that the general public... well, partly because of people like you and others who have brought information to the forefront, there's not only a recognition by the public in general, but there are more and more people who are military, professional, governmental, who are accepting the information as an indication of extraterrestrial presence.
But listen, I had two airline pilots on. Who were 100 miles apart down in Texas, driving heavy 747s and such. And they came on the air, and they described what they saw. That was a first. Then I had two police officers here a couple of weeks ago from the state of Illinois come on and describe what they saw. That was a first. And there were about, 7 or 8 different police departments that all saw this thing, large triangular object. So, the professions are beginning to come forward now. Air traffic controllers, those kinds of people. I've had them on the show recently. People are starting to talk.
And the literature has changed from tabloid to more middle-class literature, and now the upper-class literature. Some of the higher newspapers and writers are focusing on the perspective of ET presence. So there is a shift, and in my view, it's likely the next few years there'll be almost a necessity for those in authority to recognize that they're caught between continuing cover-up or releasing information.